Hi, my name is Courtney Cox, and I donated my kidney 2 years ago in June of 2023. But my donation story actually starts about 13 years ago. My youngest son was not quite 3 years old, and he was diagnosed with stage 5 Wilms tumors. So, Wilms tumors are cancer. They are tumors that are in your kidneys. So, he had two tumors in each kidney. He underwent pretty serious chemo and radiation, but his tumors were quite aggressive. So our oncologist here in Kansas City recommended a surgeon for us to go see in New York. And that surgeon was going to resect those tumors, but potentially he was going to have one of his kidneys removed and then a significant part of the other kidney removed. And so we were having discussions of coming out of surgery that he would potentially need dialysis and a kidney transplant. So, of course, being his mom, I Googled everything that I ever needed to know about a kidney transplant. And I had decided that obviously, if I was a match and he needed a kidney, that I was going to donate my kidney to him, of course. Praise God, that isn't what happened. My son came out of surgery with about 70% of one of his kidneys and 30% of the other kidney, but his kidney function was amazing and is still pretty much perfect to this day. So fast forward about, I want to say, 7 years later, in 2019, my daughter came home from school and she was in seventh grade, and she was telling me about her teacher and how her teacher's son was in need of a kidney. My daughter declared that she was going to get tested at 13 years old to see if she could donate her kidney. Well, of course, at 13 years old, she was not able to do that. However, I actually already knew about the situation because I was teaching sixth grade at the same school, and I knew the teacher a little bit, and I knew a little bit of her story, and I'd already been thinking about getting tested. So at that time, I decided to go ahead and get tested. Once I got tested, I knew I was going to be a match. And I think it was just this situation where I had never met her son. He was 17 years old at the time. And my mom heart from 7 years prior really felt for her mama heart, that I was able to empathize and relate to her in a pretty unique and special way. I just had this feeling I was going to be a match, and I told my husband, I hope you're on board with this, because when I find out I'm a match, I'm running across the street to her classroom to tell her. And so eventually I did get the phone call that I was a match, and I did, in fact, run across the street, but it was a little later in the afternoon, and she was gone for the day. I had a cookie cake made that said, I heard you're in need of a kidney, and got administration in on it. And the young man that I donated my kidney to, we had him called up to his mom's class, and my class was able to let her and her son know in that moment that I was a match and would be donating my kidney to him. It's a really cool moment because her students were waiting, and my students knew that I was waiting to find out if I was a match. And so we kind of all got to celebrate that together, and I got to meet the young man that I donated to for the first time that day. And it was just such a special moment. So that young man, his GFR, his kidney function, actually stopped dropping and it plateaued. And for like 4 years, he waited knowing that I was a match and he would need the kidney, but they didn't want to do it too soon. And so in the end of 2022, he went on dialysis, and we knew that it was time. So we got all of the things in motion, had to get retested. And in June of 2023, I donated my kidney to him. I would say that there have not been any negative life changes for me due to this donation. In fact, 8 weeks after I donated, I got cleared to start running and training for a marathon. And 5 months after I donated, I ran my first marathon. In the last 2 years, I've done several triathlons. I've had the amazing ability to participate in the donor games through the National Kidney Registry, which is CrossFit style events. As far as my lifestyle, nothing has changed. I would say that there have been really positive changes. I have had the opportunity to meet people who are waiting for kidneys, and it's really inspired me to share my story because donating is by far one of the coolest, most fulfilling things I've had the opportunity to do. To know that I have literally shared life with someone. I have such a special connection with the young man that I donated to, and we text and share life and get together for dinner. And that never would have happened without donation. I'm just so inspired to share my story with others because I know what a difference it can make in both the donor's life and the recipient's life. If you're watching this and donation is something that's on your mind, I would encourage you to reach out to the National Kidney Registry with a donor mentor and get those connections made and find out more.